How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another many interpretations of video. This time we are looking at everybody's favorite armored tank, the Ankylosaurus. This is going to be a pretty fun one. It's our third herbivorous dinosaur. One that is absolutely covered in osteoderms, which are bones that grow in the skin. That's exactly what makes up its armor. A good example of osteoderms today are these scutes on crocodiles and alligators. Just wanted to bring that up because I'm sure I'm going to mention osteoderms quite a bit. So we have quite a few media interpretations of these guys, a lot of really fun ones, a lot of really cool and interesting looking ones. So I'm really excited to get into it and just kind of see how our idea of Ankylosaurus changed through the media, through several different years, and exactly the kind of like creative takes that were applied to the animal. So let's get into it. First up, we have Fantasia, the very fun short film, Rite of Spring. Very good short film, all things considered. Has several different dinosaurs. Now, the Ankylosaurus doesn't necessarily have the biggest presence in the film. It's just kind of like a quick little shot, like a type of tracking or panning shot, and it's just kind of laying there. But it gets the basic idea of Ankylosaurus, especially with this stylized animated format. It's covered in its osteoderms that are a lot more spike-like, and we don't actually see its club. It's just kind of hidden off screen. But it's a very fun first member on this list, essentially. Next up is 64 million years ago, which is a little stop motion project. We get Ankylosaurus present here. This is something that we'll see quite commonly, where it has kind of like almost an armadillo or a turtle shell on top of its back, which is how they structured their armor. In reality, Ankylosaurus had osteoderms that were across the back, but they were just embedded in the skin. So basically the skin texture continued from the bottom of the animal all the way to the top, and it just had those osteoderms in it. So it was still incredibly armored. It just wasn't, just all one piece on the back like it's often portrayed. We will see quite a bit of that throughout this video, so that's something that I'll establish right now. It's got very muted colors and is very sprawled out on the ground. They weren't really too sprawled. I mean, they were a little bit raised off the ground, but not to the point where they were almost dragging their bellies, of course. But next on our list is the Land Before Time franchise. I remember a few times that we saw Ankylosaurus in this series. And it, very consistent design across the board. It has the very basic Ankylosaurus shape that we're pretty used to, complete with the armor. This, again, with the armor being one piece, essentially, just with some spikes within it. We get like a lighter kind of pink color. In a few instances, it's a little bit darker. And there's one, I don't know exactly which movie this is from, but there's one that's just like completely black in color. I have no idea which one this is from, but it's really cool that they give their dinosaurs different colored variation. I don't know why that's cool. I just think it is. Moving on, we're back to Power Rangers Dino Thunder. Of course, I watched this show a lot when I was a kid, and I actually had the Ankylozord toy, because, again, you can actually get the mech toy, and you can remove its arms and place new ones on the thing. It was a great way for them to make more money from this. You got to buy them to add on to, but I had the Ankylosaurus one, and it's a giant mechanical Ankylosaurus, which is a very fun thing. It's got this kind of like orange color, and it utilizes both the tail and its back as kind of like a weapon, almost like a shield and a spear type thing. It's just a very fun design, and it's just one that has always stood out to me. Again, I might just be biased towards it because I actually had the toy, so I was pretty used to this design, all things considered, but I think it's a very cool design, especially considering the fact that the head shape pretty much matches up to the Ankylosaurus head shape, which is a very cool thing. Ankylosaurus had these type of almost horn-like structures, which were still osteoderms that were kind of spiked towards the back of the head, and that's something that's present here, so it's very fun to see. And now the very classic Walking with Dinosaurs. Now, in terms of the actual armor, we're getting a lot closer to the actual the orientation of the armor on the back. It's not just one huge solid piece like we saw so frequently. It does seem to just be the osteoderms within the skin, which is accurate. Now, it's very rounded. Ankylosaurus was actually surprisingly kind of flat in its skeletal build, and it did have stubbier arms than what is portrayed here. Like, it's really kind of tall and just really round in general. And it also seems that its club is a little bit thick too. But man, this one just looks, this one's an iconic design, I really like the yellow colors just mixed in with the black. I think that those look so cool on the animal, and I'm probably going to be saying cool a lot. I do that a lot in these videos, so bear with me, please. but this is this is an awesome design. You know, it's being a huge watcher of Walking with Dinosaurs growing up. I'll probably really like those designs purely for nostalgia, even though it doesn't necessarily hold up too much to our understanding today, but it's still a very, very great design, I think. And we can't escape this project. We have Disney's Dinosaur, one of our little main characters. He's kind of like the dog-like character in the show. So just, you know, very goofy, has their tongue out, kind of a comic relief character. But the osteoderms are very spiky on the Ankylosaur, and it's very small. You know, it's got an interesting design to it, with the kind of horned osteoderms almost that droop down a little bit, and it's a fun design. It fits the show. Again, it was just a comic relief character, one that would kind of ease the tension, even though it didn't really show up too much in the movie, but still one of those dinosaurs that would ease the tension for what was otherwise a decently dark story. So very fun, but just a little bit of a dull color. That's just one thing, you know. I kind of like seeing counter shading when it comes to some dinosaurs like this. I think counter shading really helps the dinosaur stand out. So maybe like a lighter color on bottom, but it's all consistently the same color. Still very fun in the context of the movie. And now Turok. Of course, we have Turok Evolution, the game, as well as the animated series, Son of Stone. Now, these designs do differ quite a bit from each other. We have a literal tank right here, which is so fun. A very tall Ankylosaur with just guns on its back. Definitely fits the whole idea that Ankylosaur was a living tank. And then some that are just like a little bit more natural with like a little bit more subtle osteoderms as well. They have a really cool head shape. They do possess the beak and things like that, and I like their colors. I think their colors look cool. But in terms of the video game one, that's pretty much what I'm talking about when I speak of counter shading. I think something a little bit more along the lines of this. But this is just a very fun. This is a very fun portrayal of Ankylosaurus. Like I said, if it lives up to the name with its portrayal right here. Okay, you guys are gonna have to stick with me with this one. We have quite a few interpretations of it in all of the Jurassic projects, like most of them anyway. We'll start off with Jurassic Park 3, which is by far my favorite version of the animal within the Jurassic franchise, primarily because of the colors. It has like darker, like, you know, it does have the kind of like fused together osteoderm back, like an armadillo or turtle or something like that. But it's like those are black, and then you have the lighter colors with the skin, as well as like the red accents that are kind of like on the face and things like that. I love this design. I think this design looks so cool. And it's a shame that it's only in the movie for like 2 microseconds, but it's still so cool. I love putting them in my parks in Jurassic World Evolution. Of course, and then moving on from that, we have Evolution's version of the animal, which is basically the same. It keeps the whole basic idea of the Jurassic Park 3, so we have that consistency. Just the colors aren't as great, I gotta say. Of course, this could just be an instance of the males look like the Jurassic Park 3 version, whereas the females look like the Jurassic World version, and we only see the females in Jurassic World. But I still would have loved to see these colors kind of brought over. I think that would have been a lot more fun because I just think that these colors look so cool. But I digress. The design is basically the same, and I feel like it kind of has that iconic Ankylosaur look to it. You know, not too accurate, all things considered, but it's still a very fun design. But then in the Netflix show Camp Cretaceous, we of course have Bumpy, the asymmetrical Ankylosaurus. Got that name because she has a little bump on her head, opposed to the extended one on the other side of her head. So we get a baby version of her, which is absolutely adorable, both when she's extremely tiny and when she gets a little bit bigger with those huge eyes and things like that. One of those iconic characters. And then as she grows, it's kind of interesting because the texturing gets a lot more detailed when she grows, so it's just kind of funny to compare them. But the colors are really cool on her. They definitely don't beat the Jurassic Park 3 colors, but these will do. You know, these will do. You get like a lighter, almost kind of like turquoise color to her that really stands out in terms of Ankylosaur designs, and I just, you know, I like it. I like having named dinosaurs to look at in the Jurassic franchise, and Bumpy is up there. You know, you gotta love Bumpy. And then in Jurassic Park the game, we have, you know, the same basic design. You know, you get the fused together osteoderms. It looks like you have colors that are kind of reminiscent to Bumpy. I don't think I ever had Ankylosaurus in the actual game back when I played it, So this is all kind of new to me, but I do like how when it's younger, it doesn't actually really have the osteoderms yet. It kind of like this whole idea that the osteoderms grows as it matures. I do believe that in terms of the club, I think that is something that does grow when they do mature. So there's like a reason to believe that they use that for interspecific combat in terms of like dominance or a mate or something like that. So that might not be too far off, but it's a very good design, all things considered. And then in Jurassic World, the game, the one in particular I want to talk about is the level 40, because the other one is pretty standard for this franchise. But the level 40, it's got horns on its nostril. It exaggerates all of these spikes and just makes it very gnarly in appearance. And once again, it has those horns in the nostrils, and it's just a very, very fun design. I think I'm saying fun a lot too. Just bear with me. Just bear with me. And then we move on to Jurassic World Alive, this is a game that has been requested to look at quite a bit on these. One in particular that I want to focus on specifically because of the colors is this one. It has like iridescent colors. It's pretty. I like it. The design and model remains pretty consistent to the Jurassic franchise and Ankylosaur, but the colors are what really stands out for this one. It looks like it's Generation 2 Ankylosaurus. The Gen 1, I believe, is this one, which has, kind of duller colors, but this one's my favorite. I think it looks really cool. And then in Warpath Jurassic Park, we have this one right here. Again, Warpath is a dinosaur fighting game in the same vein of like Mortal Kombat. Design-wise, it definitely reminds me of Eupliocephalus, especially with those spikes. But it's a little bit taller, and it kind of raises its club up, which I believe was possible for Ankylosaurus. It's a very cool design. I like the colors. The colors look cool. You have like hints of blue in there, which if you've watched enough of the series, you know that I like seeing blue because blue is cool. I wear a lot of blue shirts. And then I figured I might as well talk about this one. Now, I know that there's like a lot of different hybrids you can do in Jurassic World Alive, but I want to talk about Ankylosaurus, from Jurassic World, the game, and from Jurassic World Evolution. If you couldn't tell from the name, it's a mixture of Ankylosaurus and Diplodocus, creating a hybrid there. So you have the basic body of a Diplodocus, but then the kind of face of a Ankylosaurus with the spikes. And then it gets osteoderms on it. I don't know. It has a derpy face, and I love it. So, that's the Ankylosaurus. Now, this next one surprised me. So, in Dinosaur King, I assume in both the arcade game and the anime that I used to watch every Saturday morning, there is a dinosaur character named Tank. It's one of the main dinosaur characters. We get its baby version and everything. I always assumed that was Ankylosaurus, because that's just like the default. If you need a giant armored dinosaur, you put Ankylosaurus. He's not. He's a Seychania. If I pronounced that correctly, I hope I did. But he's not an Ankylosaurus. I'll talk about him anyway, because I don't think we're going to do many interpretations of Seychania. So he's got a really cool purple color mixed in with the yellow, complementary colors. He's got a decent build for Ankylosaurus, even though he's not Ankylosaurus, but he fits that Ankylosaur build. But no, Ankylosaurus does still show up in Dinosaur King. It just looks like this. It kind of has like a Notosaurid back, almost. And the brown colors definitely remind me of a Notosaurid too. But the skull structure looks pretty decent, and it's a little bit more elongated off the ground. But it's pretty standard stuff for Ankylosaurus designs. I was mainly just surprised that Tank wasn't the Ankylosaurus. I seriously thought that was just the default when it came to Ankylosaurs. So you learn something new every time you do a many interpretations of video. But after that, we have Dinosaur Train. It has a pretty standard Ankylosaurus design. I've said that a lot, I know. But just stylized for the Dinosaur Train look. The colors are interesting. Certainly reminds me of Christmas, but I do like how he kind of has an underbite. One of those things that kind of makes him, gives him a characteristic. You can almost picture how he talks, essentially. And the back is completely fused as one large osteoderm, essentially. Once again, something that wasn't present on the animal. But yeah, no, you look at this and you could probably guess that it's Ankylosaurus, so that works. Now, I've always liked this portrayal, but in Ice Age 3 Dawn of the Dinosaurs, Ankylosaurus kind of starts off as like a little bit of an antagonistic dinosaur, which I think is awesome, because oftentimes when it comes to dinosaur media, herbivores are portrayed as like pushover, friendly animals, when in reality there was probably a lot of them that were pretty mean. pretty aggressive and things like that. Just like today, herbivorous animals are pretty aggressive. Like, have you seen zebra attacks? It's crazy. But no, it's kind of portrayed as being, mean. It has like a very interesting club shape. Definitely not flat like the ones that we saw and see on Ankylosaurus. Very well weapon-like. And it has an armadillo back, but the colors are so cool on it, and I really like the Ice Age versions of these dinosaur designs. They're just stylized in such a way that I think is so cool. Can't wait until we get to the many interpretations of Baryonyx. That'll be fun. Moving on, there's the documentary Clash of the Dinosaurs that has a pretty standard Ankylosaurus design. It kind of seems like it's all fused together in one big osteoderm. It's back. But the skull shape looks pretty good. The build is pretty decent, all things considered. It also shows up in the last day of the dinosaurs. They use the same model for that, so the design is pretty consistent across the board. But I especially like it in the head. I think the head looks really good. It has the basic shape of an Ankylosaurus head with that kind of beak that goes down a little bit more like this, which is pretty standard for the animal, and it just looks fantastic. Really not that many complaints about this design. I really like it. It's a very cool design. After that, we have Terra Nova, portrayed as being very wide, almost with lizard-like, very, very low to the ground, almost to the point where it's dragging its belly. Very spiky osteoderms across the back, and its head is also a little bit more wide too. It's an interesting design, and I didn't remember that Ankylosaurus was in Terra Nova, honestly. So that was kind of fun to learn about. But yeah, no, that's the Terra Nova Ankylosaurus. And now, just like Rocky, the Parasaurolophus from Giganotasaurus, we have another fun design with this one right here. I can't find his name. Oh no, Mazu. I think his name's Mazu. Yeah, Mazu is a little Ankylosaurus. He's got these huge underbite teeth, got huge bulging eyes, very skinny arms with huge fists. It's just, I love it. I don't know. I have a daughter, so one day maybe I'll show her this show. It's so goofy. I love it. And then we have a very brief appearance in Amazing Dinoworld 2, where it's facing off against a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Very feathered Tyrannosaurus Rex, by the way. But this is a very good design. This might be one of the best designs that we've seen. It seems that they are actually just individual osteoderms. The club shape seems pretty good. It's just the right amount of low. The head shape looks fantastic. The colors are pretty standard for Ankylosaur designs, but this is a good design. This is a fantastic design and is definitely up there in terms of designs. I think I think it's a very good one. I think I'm gonna hit you with a surprising one, but you didn't know this, but Ankylosaurus shows up in Tom and Jerry. Oddly enough, I remember seeing this one when I was watching Tom and Jerry way back when. I remember it was a scene of like a Triceratops that was drinking, and then pretty soon the Ankylosaurus comes in and just knocks it out with its club, and then it starts drinking. That always stuck with me. But it's a pretty familiar Ankylosaurus design. We've gone over it a lot already with the fused together armor on the back, but this time its club is just a ball. It's just a ball. It fits the Tom and Jerry style. I especially like the facial expressions that it gives. It's very fun to see Ankylosaurus in a style like this, especially with Tom and Jerry, something that I watched growing up, of course. So yeah, that's a fun one. And then we will continue with stylized versions of these animals with Paleo Pines, because I won't forget Paleo Pines anymore. I've been meaning to include it. Finally will this time. It's, of course, a very cute design, but is still accurate. It still has the correct attributes that Ankylosaurus is known for, like these osteoderms. The head looks pretty good. It's pretty low to the ground. The club looks fantastic, and you get different colors for it. It's accurate but stylized, which is a very cool thing to see. So yeah, no, this is another great design. And then another early dinosaur from Carnivores Dinosaur Hunter. It is the Ankylosaurus, and this one is strange to me. It's dragging its tail. It's a very, very thin tail. It's very upright in its stance. It's got the regular armor back that we've seen a lot, and its head shape is certainly interesting. And these guys are fast too. Like, if you've played the game and you've tried to hunt them, they're just so fast. Like, they get away from you. But it's a unique design, and it still does fit the style of Carnivores, though this one is just a little bit strange, if you ask me. It's still fun though. You know, it's just it's cool. It's cool. And then I always love to see Lego versions of these dinosaurs. We've gotten actual minifigures of Ankylosaurus, which is cool, and I might want to hunt that down. But of course, it did show up in the Lego Jurassic World game with a very cool kind of purple blue color with some counter shading going on. It's like a very awesome design. Like, you know, genuinely, I will just never complain when I see a Lego version of dinosaurs, even though I completely forgot to mention the Lego Spinosaurus one. I always do that. There's also a Lego Bumpy, and, you know, it's just, it's a single piece, and it's just, it's adorable, you know. And then finally, fossil fighters. So we, much like Tank, who is not an Ankylosaurus, we have kind of purples and yellows. It looks awesome. It's got the proper osteoderms. The head shape seems to match up too. It's in terms of the style of the game, it certainly fits, and that seems to always be true for Fossil Fighter. So it's 100% a passable Ankylosaurus design. And so there we are. That is the many interpretations of Ankylosaurus, as many as I was able to get. This is a dinosaur that showed up quite, like, a lot more than I had initially assumed, which I don't know why I thought it didn't show up too much, because, I don't know, it's one of those popular dinosaurs. So I should have assumed that it was going to show up quite a bit. It was a fun video to do. I learned some things about Ankylosaurus in general while doing this video, and you know, there was a lot of really cool designs to look at throughout the years. You know, it's one of those fun dinosaurs that I feel like a lot of designers just have fun with, essentially. But you know the drill. The next poll will be coming up within the next couple days, and we will determine exactly which creature will be next, and you know, we'll go from there. So thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good one.